Nothing at all. Nothing redeemable in him. And we have to, and whoever the people are who want to vote for him, and there look like intelligent people around there. Somebody, for some reason, it can't be. It cannot be. If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us can imagine. That's what happens in that kind of a dictatorship, which is what he says. Let's believe him. Take him at his word.
Democracy is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course. But democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary.
Are you
Excuse my French.
Last year, Robert De Niro seemed completely focused on criticizing Trump. He went from interview to interview, making strong statements and using harsh words about the GOP front-runner. He even presented himself as someone defending democracy. But over time, it started to look like typical Hollywood hypocrisy, and Bill Maher didn't hesitate to call it out. If you like bold political moments and honest commentary that mainstream media often skips, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next.
Is it's Biden versus Trump. We want to live in a world that we want to live in and enjoy living in, or live in a nightmare. Vote for Trump and you'll get the nightmare. Vote for Biden and we'll be back to normalcy.
Yeah. So why is Trump winning? I mean, the New York Times poll this week came out, and maybe this will change it with the State of the Union address, but Trump was beating him rather soundly. It was quite a warning light, 48-43, also winning way more among women than he had before, winning outright Latinos. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I just don't want to feel the way I did, and many of us don't, after the election in 2016, where we couldn't believe that it happened.
People say Trump derangement syndrome can affect how someone thinks. It can cloud judgment and make it harder to see things clearly. Take Robert De Niro, for example. He had many reasons why people shouldn't vote for Trump, but he couldn't really explain why so many Americans, including a lot of women, still supported him. That shows the kind of blind spot this mindset can create. And for those who think Trump would have lost if Joe Biden was mentally sharper, it's worth thinking again. Before the election, polls were already showing Trump gaining strong support. The signs were clear, and people in power could see it. Because of that, things started to change behind the scenes. Instead of pushing for a direct matchup, the strategy shifted. Kamala Harris began to appear as another option, showing a clear change in direction. And if you've been noticing all this, you're not wrong. You're just paying closer attention now.
It's a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I never play him as an actor, because I can't see any good in him. Nothing.
Let me pause for a second. I might have missed something. Did Robert De Niro really say he wouldn't play Donald Trump if asked? First of all, who's even asking? Why would anyone cast him in that role when he doesn't really look like Trump? It's like casting Danny DeVito as LeBron James. It just doesn't make sense. And honestly, De Niro isn't the only big actor in Hollywood. This doesn't feel like some bold or meaningful stand. It seems more like he's overthinking something that probably wasn't even happening. At best, it's a little funny. At worst, it feels unnecessary. Anyway, let's move on to where he starts making some bold predictions.
In him. And we have to, and whoever the people are who want to vote for him, and there look like intelligent people around there, somebody, for some reason, it can't be. It cannot be. If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us can imagine. That's what happens in that kind of a dictatorship, which is what he says. Let's believe him. Take him at his word.
This is where things get interesting. Donald Trump has been back in office for a few months now, and honestly, how many of Robert De Niro's big warnings have actually come true? None. Not even close. But something unexpected did happen. Trump invited one of his biggest critics, Bill Maher, to the White House. Yes, that same Bill Maher who spent years criticizing Republicans. And the surprising part, no Democratic president ever gave him that kind of access. Not Barack Obama, not Bill Clinton, not even Joe Biden. Why did Trump do it? Because he doesn't avoid criticism. He leans into it. Instead of sticking to safe, scripted moments, he steps right into controversy. That's what makes him unpredictable, and for some people, effective. So in a way, De Niro was right about one thing. Trump has done surprising things, just not the ones Hollywood was warning about.
Think our democracy is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course, but democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary.
Are you
Excuse my French.
At this point, it seems pretty evident that Robert De Niro tends to stay within his familiar space, acting and openly criticizing Donald Trump. Even when he talks about something as complex as democracy, his explanation can come across as overly simplified and somewhat surface level. It sounds confident, but not necessarily persuasive. More broadly, this reflects a criticism often aimed at parts of Hollywood, strong, outspoken opinions that don't always connect with how a wider audience sees things. There's a perception of an echo chamber, where certain viewpoints are reinforced while opposing perspectives get limited attention. Big statements about values like democracy and openness may sound compelling, but critics argue they don't always align with how disagreements are actually handled. And De Niro isn't alone in this. He's simply one of the more outspoken figures in a group that some people increasingly view as out of touch. At the same time, more people are beginning to question whether these voices truly reflect the broader public anymore. Ring about.
Totally dumbfounded, baffled by that. I can't understand it. And it's a thing that we've seen over decades and decades. And he's a what's it? Tammy Faye and the other one.
Yes.
It's the same thing, Give us your money, we're going to save you. Yeah, televangelist. It's just the same.
Robert De Niro didn't stop at criticizing Donald Trump. He also took aim at Trump's supporters. At one point, he suggested that many voters were being misled, using language that some felt was dismissive and overly harsh. That tone doesn't sit well with everyone. Instead of sounding like a debate, it can come across as talking down to everyday Americans, and that's where the real pushback begins. Critics point out an irony. While calling others gullible, De Niro often echoes viewpoints commonly heard across late-night shows and activist media, presenting them as unquestionable truth. To some, that doesn't reflect independent thinking. It feels more like following the crowd. He may see himself as informed, but many argue that simply agreeing with popular narratives doesn't automatically make someone right. This is a big reason why more people are starting to tune celebrities out altogether. There's growing frustration with being lectured by wealthy public figures who seem disconnected from everyday life. Fame doesn't equal wisdom, and more viewers are beginning to recognize that. That tension became even more visible during a face-to-face encounter De Niro had with a Trump supporter on the streets of New York, an exchange that escalated quickly and didn't stay calm for long.
Town halls. Now, I would say those town halls usually are in addition to real town halls. Joe Biden was doing neither. This fake town hall was in order to film it so they could make it into campaign commercials. They filmed it in Delaware with supporters. But Joe Biden at this point, this is the spring of 2024, Joe Biden's town hall, which was closed to press, was so bad that campaign officials determined that it was not usable for a campaign commercial. So they took 90 minutes, 2 hours out of the president's day. They filmed an entire town hall, and they determined that it was not.
Joe Biden's performance has raised growing concerns among critics about his clarity and consistency in public appearances. Even in a tightly controlled town hall setting, with a structured format, prepared questions, and carefully managed production, it didn't fully ease those concerns. Despite the controlled environment, there were moments where he appeared to lose his train of thought, drift off topic, or struggle to clearly deliver his responses. For some viewers, these instances stand out and fuel ongoing debate about his his communication style and effectiveness. What might otherwise be routine political messaging instead becomes a focal point of scrutiny. Critics argue that these moments go beyond typical political slip-ups and raise broader questions about leadership and public confidence. At that point, the discussion shifts from policy to perception, whether the person addressing the nation appears fully in command of the moment.
This was because Joe Biden was incoherent. He could not really articulate his thoughts in a pithy or even semi-normal way. Some people just said like the lighting was bad. That was sort of the two points of view. But the point is, it shows how like what the campaign status was in the spring of 2024 when they were trying to deal with a candidate that wasn't.
But the real question is, why now? Why has Jake Tapper suddenly decided to put out a book highlighting concerns around Joe Biden's public performance? What's the timing behind it? These moments didn't just appear overnight. Viewers have been noticing them for a while. Missteps, long pauses, and instances that spark debate across the political spectrum. Yet for years, much of the media conversation either softened the focus or avoided it altogether. Critics argued that the issue wasn't treated with the same urgency until recently. Now, as public opinion shifts and the political landscape evolves, a tell-all book enters the scene. To some, it feels less like a revelation and more like a late response, raising questions about whether it's genuine scrutiny or simply an attempt to reshape the narrative. And that's where many say it feels like damage control, arriving after the conversation has already taken hold. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this take, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more sharp commentary. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.